Welcome to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Living the Sweet Life with Azucar is a podcast by mental health therapist, spoken word artist, author, screenwriter, and playwright Simone Nicole, better known as Azucar, discussing what it is like to be creative in the working world in her interview segment Ask Azucar, finding solutions to any mental wellness questions in her Q&A segment Work Well Wednesdays, and spilling the tea in her special bi-weekly dating episodic Welcome to the Sugar Factory. Subscribers will receive goodies on Freebie Fridays according to their tier level. Please remember to join the sweet teas on patreon.com/LA Sugar Factory.
Hello, everybody. We are in another episode of Work Well Wednesday, but this time we have my lovely guest from, well, she's my friend. We're not even gonna say coworker because she's friend. Okay. So Miss Solaika is here to talk all things mental health with us. She's gonna do a couple episodes with me. And if you guys like her, as I always say, DM us with your questions and we can see what we can do. Like literally any question. DM the podcast page with any question and we will do our best to answer it on the segment. So today our segment is about borderline personality disorder. Most of you know that there are certain reasons why I particularly like this diagnosis, and there are other reasons why it is the terror and bane of my existence. Um, I like this diagnosis because when I was in school, it was the one diagnosis that my teacher told me that we could never fix. And it intrigued me. Not because I wanted to experience it, but it intrigued me as a therapist. Um, so Leica, say hello to everyone and
Hello,
tell
everyone.
them a little bit about you, and then we'll go into more of that.
Hello, my name is Solaika. I'm a licensed master social work. I've been working in the social work field for over 5 years. I specialize with children and families. However, I'm interested in relationships and forming healthy relationships and
Yeah.
decoding the negative ones.
Oh, yes. And so you guys can be prepared for that. That will be our next segment together. Um, so the reason why I wanted to start with borderline personality is because I got a lovely text message this morning from a certain person. And for those of you who have not heard yet on the Welcome to the Sugar Factory episodes, I've had personal experience dealing with people with borderline. And so getting this text this morning said, okay, you need to talk about this. You need to get it out your skin and you need to let the world know what it looks like. And so that we can like be like, oh hell no, stay far away from me, go to therapy, and then maybe we'll talk. You need to do those type of things. Set boundaries because this type of personality disorder can, if you have mental illness yourself or you're struggling with something real along the lines of the mental spectrum, because I believe the whole world is on the mental spectrum right now since the pandemic. This is a personality disorder that and narcissism, but we did narcissism already. This one is another one that can literally spiral you. So stay tuned to episodes of Welcome to the Sugar Factory to understand how that spiraled me. Okay. Borderline personality. The big traits of BPD that you find in people. You have fear of abandonment. People with BPD are often terrified of being alone or abandoned. Unstable relationships. Unclear or shifting self-image. Impulsive or self-destructive behaviors. Self-harm, emotional mood swings, extreme emotional mood swings. Extreme is the high key word here. Chronic feelings of emptiness and explosive anger. Solaika, where do you want to begin? What interests you? Any questions you have? Because I know you want me to share some tea. So, any questions out of that list that you want to know about, or anything you want to
Yes.
explore more?
Yes, there were two portions in the criteria. One was the unstable relationships. And I kind of know, like, with people with borderline personality, if they have unstable or chaotic personal relationships, it might be hard for them to keep a job, keep relationships. They might struggle with financial issues, rocky friendships. Again, back to the relationship domain, it
Yeah.
can be considered an unhealthy relationship.
Oh, it is definitely unhealthy. Definitely unhealthy. Okay, so the unrocky, the what did we call it? Where do we go? Unstable relationships. So
Rocky friendship. Mm-hmm.
the example I will give you is it's very like it's like you are if you're in a relationship with somebody that has BPD, it's like you're literally walking on eggshells or you're walking on a tectonic plate waiting for it to erupt.
Mm-hmm. And that can be considered a red flag in a relationship.
Hell yes. Big red flag. Big red flag. Because the tectonic, like you never know when the tectonic plate is gonna shift and then there's gonna be an explosion in your face. You never know when that's gonna happen. And like for me, I was with him long enough where I understood his patterns. So like we would
Mm-hmm.
have a really good date and everything would be really good. Give him like 10 minutes of not seeing my face. Like literally I could leave his apartment, be on my way to the bus. By the time I get on the bus, he's calling me spiraling.
Wow.
Completely spiraling. Like there was this one time I was leaving for my sister's wedding and good date. I was thinking I was gonna go to the Bahamas and come back home and we'll figure stuff out. Woke up the next morning, literally it was less than 12 hours. Woke up the next morning, getting on my way to get the flight, check my phone, and there is just like toxic vomit text messaging. And I'm like, what did I do? What did we do? What happened? What is your brain telling you? Like, did we both just experience the same thing? And then all of a sudden, I wake up
Mm-hmm.
in the morning and you are like double thinking everything and then like vomiting your insecurities, which then turn into insults towards me and insults towards my family, which is what we're talking about, which is one of the things where it says extreme emotional mood swings,
Mm-hmm.
explosive anger.
Did you
So,
notice the anger? Any
huh?
anger in his anger? What did it look like?
His anger looked like trying to make me feel smaller. It also looked like everything was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It also looked like everything that I was doing it to harm him.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't, and then this goes into the other part, which was where are we? Which was unclear or shifting of self-image. So he was not secure in himself, and therefore the insecurities he blamed on me because
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with him. There's everything wrong with everyone else. He has a certain way of how he likes his relationships. And so when things didn't go the way he wanted them to go, it was always the partner's fault. Or he would figure out a way in which to make it my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And like he'd have extreme anxiety about normal things. Like, and this will be in the episode too of the pot of the Welcome to the Sugar Factory segment, where it took him forever and ever. Like we were in a store and it took him forever and ever and ever to choose the item. I literally had to go through a decision tree for him to choose the item to pick to buy in the store. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, it's not the end of the world if you want to buy this item. Like, why do you feel like the world is going to end? Your family's going to hate you. You're like they're gonna think that you always waste money. Like again, unsecure self-image.
An extreme. Everything's in extremes.
Everything is in extreme. Yep. Everything is in extreme. So this was yeah, everything was in extreme. So I was like definitely on kilter with that.
Hmm.
Fear of an abandonment is key, is key. Borderline personality people latch. And as soon as they feel you slipping away, they're gonna figure out ways to latch. So you're gonna go into a cycle. You're gonna go into a cycle with them. They're gonna latch onto you, everything's gonna be cool, then it's gonna be explosive, then you're gonna pull away, then they're gonna latch again, and then you're gonna go back and forth
It
until you
sounds like
figure
an
out, oh
insecure.
no, I don't want to stay here.
It
And
sounds
then
like an
you cut all
insecure.
ties.
Anxious.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I said it sounds like an insecure, anxious attachment style.
And explain to the listeners what that is.
Insecure attachment style is someone that doesn't have like a secure confidence in their relationships about themselves and their partner. So they create like unhealthy habits.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you are completely unsecure and when you are used to having instability in your relationships, you don't know how to maintain a proper relationship.
Not a healthy one. Again, back to relationships, secure and confidence within yourself or your partner.
Right. So, like I was explaining to someone else the other day, like everything is not going to look like a nail if you are a healthy person. If you are
Hmm.
an unhealthy person with insecure attachment and unstable relationships, everything is going to look like a nail. Everything is going to look like attacking you. Everything's going to look like against you or because it's not at your level that it's not worth to you. And then like this cycle of latching and releasing, like I know when he contacts me again, it's because it's that other piece that we didn't talk about. It's chronic feelings of emptiness.
Wow. And that derives from childhood, from the trauma. People with borderline, immense trauma, childhood trauma.
And I feel like for him, it's a trauma that the family doesn't like to talk about and he hasn't fully developed on. And I
Mm.
really in our relationship, I tried to get him to talk about it. But that wasn't gonna happen. And so like every time he feels like his bed is empty, or every time he has a thought of like, oh, Simone with blah blah blah, I'm gonna get a text message. Every time he sees a meme on Instagram that reminds him of the conversations we used to have, I'm gonna get a text message telling me about I was
Um,
thinking about you. But it's not that you were thinking about me. It was you were thinking about what I could do for you and not actually thinking about who I am and not actually missing the person that I am. You are missing what I can give you,
mhm.
not who I am. And that's another thing about borderline personality is that it's always about getting their emotional needs met.
Not
It's
yours.
always about making sure that their cup is full. And it's not a reciprocal relationship. They're always going to take and take and take until you're depleted. because they have a fear of abandonment. So because they have a fear of abandonment, they always have to be latching to you. So you always have to be filling them and filling them so that they can stop being insecure, but they're never going to stop being insecure because that's part of their personality.
Mm-hmm.
Any other points of this you wanna ask about or explore more about?
I know you talked about this in the previous segment, but I wasn't able to participate.
Mhm.
Narcissism, they're usually like that. They can't be by themselves. They need to have an emotional supply.
Yep. Yes. Emotional supply is very, very important. It's very, very important. And like key part of trying to get into a relationship with somebody who needs a constant emotional supply is that they spiral when they feel like their emotional supply is getting depleted, or they
Hmm.
spiral when they feel like you're pulling away, or they spiral when you're not giving them the same amount of attention. Now, that can also look like an anxious attachment style.
Hmm.
The difference here is that, and we didn't get to it, and now we're going to get to it, is the impulsive self-destructive behaviors and self-harm. So the difference here, at least in my experience, was once I would pull away or once I would realize, yo, this is too much, I can't deal with this, he would then come back with, oh, I feel like I'm gonna harm myself if we cannot be together. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna harm myself because this relationship is ending. And yeah, it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous because they can become suicidal based on their high fluctuality of emotions
Hmm.
due to
What?
the fact of like, oh crap, I'm gonna be alone again. And then the only way that I can latch on to this person is if I tell them I'm gonna harm myself. And they respond better when I feel like I'm in danger, so they'll stick around to help me. So it's a very unhealthy like
Manipulative.
cycle.
Hmm.
When you really get done and you're really done with it, and then they text you like a day or two later saying, "Yeah, I was feeling suicidal, so I left." I checked myself in the hospital, or I went to see my parents, or I had to go and spend some time outside of the city, things like that.
Hmm.
Well, these people that have support will reach out in those moments, but I just want the people that have to deal with people that have this disorder to know that it is not your fault. It is their inability to manage their emotions that is
Hmm.
leading to this thought process. It has nothing to do with who you are and what you've done. You haven't done anything. It's the way that their mind processes emotions and the way that their
Hmm.
mind processes attachment. They need an extreme attachment to feel secure. And most of the time, people cannot provide that amount of attachment that they need to be secure.
That is something within, like self-love. That is something within.
Mhm. Mhm.
You did mention something about harmful behaviors. Would you say it would be like binge eating or alcoholism?
I haven't had any clients that have had binge eating part of that connected to BPD, but I've had people who've had drug addictions or
Hmm.
alcohol addictions connected to this. Because you also gotta look at our culture. When people have a good day, they're like, or when people like celebrating something, they're like, oh, let's get a drink. When guys break up with girls, they're like, okay, let's go get a drink and let's chop it up at the bar. You see, so like the emotional regulation in social settings, if you do not have other coping skills, would lead you to another addiction, drugs or alcohol.
Hmm.
some people also, I know that other addictions can also be like excessive shopping, excessive exercise, things like that. So we want to, once we identify this in our partner and our friend or whoever, we want to be able to say like, hey, let's go to therapy, or let's talk this out safely without any other things, without any other substances that can tip the scales.
Hmm.
What are you thinking about?
I was just wondering if he had made any actual attempts, or he was just saying it like weaponizing on your
I don't
emotions.
know. I do know that he did say that he was suicidal before. I don't know if there was actual attempts.
Hmm.
Um, I don't remember. He possibly could have told me, but I do not remember. I do know that some of it, well, when he was with me, it was very weaponizing.
Hmm.
He did end up taking a break from the city for a while to like
Hmm.
recalibrate himself. But um, but yeah, I looked at it between me and him as a weaponizing way because he knew that me being a therapist wouldn't leave him in that kind of state. But I
Hmm.
also, because I'm also stubborn, I also know how to create boundaries and still help you.
Hmm.
So I would help him, but I would not be his girlfriend. I make this very clear, and you guys will hear this more in the other segments as well. Once I start to feel like your therapist, we are no longer in a relationship. We are no longer we are no even if we are talking, even if we are getting to know each other, and we haven't solidified a relationship, like we haven't had that conversation of like let's be exclusive.
Hmm.
The moment I feel like I'm your therapist, that's when all the romantic feelings stop for me.
Hmm. I don't like to share that I'm a therapist with guys that I'm dating, so I just don't say anything because I feel like you might want to take on the role, like for me to be your therapist.
And yeah, once I feel like that's what you want, then we stop talking. We stop talking. Like there was this one dude, he was really cool. He's a DJ in New York City. I love him to death. He's such a sweetheart. But and he liked me for a really long time. Like he hit on me multiple times. Even when I had a boyfriend, he didn't care. And then like we were talking, and then one day, this was back when I was in Jersey. One day he was talking to me, and then I was like, you do really know like this is sounding more like a therapy session than you getting to know me to be your girlfriend, right?
Hmm.
And he goes, well, yeah, I thought you could like help me out. And I was like, well, that's my boundary. That's my deal breaker. Cause
Hmm.
because when I think about relationships and I think about my husband and I think about my home, I want to be able to turn it off. I want to be able to, because in our profession, we're very much boss ladies. Okay?
Hmm.
We are very much boss ladies. So when I go home, I want to be able to be soft and I want to be able to just relax and like melt into being a wife, melt into
Hmm.
being a mother. And if I have to go home and be my husband or my boyfriend's therapist,
Or
no,
mama.
no. The Lord already knows. We talked about this many times. This is a no. This is a no. And I'll be like, babe, if you need to go and like have a guy's day, go have a guy's day. But I'm also not saying that you can't come to me with your things. We can definitely figure some things out. Like I'm a great problem solver. Yes, let's do this. If you need me to listen to you, I got you. But the minute it starts to be like I'm giving you homework, we gotta cut it off.
Hmm.
What about you?
Um, I just feel like many men, women, we do the work to improve ourselves, our emotional, our physical, our mental well-being. Men rely on women for a lot of emotional support when they should be in therapy. That's my opinion.
Well, that's well. That's a good point. That's a good point. I feel I agree to a point.
I wouldn't
Um,
say it's full blown, but like
right. That's
I
what I
would
was gonna say. Like, don't rely on me full blown. Like,
mhm.
rely on me for a little bit, but also go to therapy to heal some other stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I can't do everything.
yeah, like I can't do everything for you.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Is there one part that we haven't touched on? Oh, explosive anger. Okay. So the explosive anger part of BPD, that comes along the lines of, well, it can look different ways, but in my situation, it came along the lines of not doing what he wanted. So in the beginning, we were good because, we were trying to figure out things to do that we both would enjoy.
Hmm.
And then once he got comfortable in us, my needs and my interests started to fade away into doing everything to make him feel comfortable, doing everything to adjust to what he wanted. And if he didn't get what he wanted in the way that he wanted it, we would have an argument. If I didn't agree with him, we would have an argument. And like I come from the philosophy of two things can coexist. We
Hmm.
have to agree all the time. If we agreed all the time, you would just be my friend. Like, I want to be challenged by my partner, but I don't want to be in groupthink. You know what I mean? I don't want to
And that
be,
creates a controlling dynamic.
yep, that definitely creates a controlling dynamic. And once I got to the point where I was like, where did I go in all of this? That's when I started to plan my exit. Because I was like, since
How
what,
was
like, and I just want people to know so y'all don't feel like terrible, like that you don't realize how you got here. It is a slow burn. It is a slow burn. Um, and then I was in it long enough that I could start recognizing the patterns. And once I started recognizing the pattern, I knew exactly I needed to get out.
I didn't get to get
There
out.
was no, there was
Hmm.
no maybe, there was no, oh, if he'll go to therapy, I'll stick around. No. I need to get out because okay, now we did one full cycle. Now we're halfway through a second cycle. Nope, I'm cutting out right here.
This is a personality disorder that people need to understand. You can't change a personality. That is that is like throughout the year, this person has obtained this personality.
Hmm. You cannot. You cannot. And the thing that really got me upset with him, and y'all will learn a little bit more about this once I finish the episode, which I finished the TV episode, is that he went to therapy and he was like, yeah, I went to therapy and they gave me a workbook. When people with borderline personality go to therapy, they are literally giving you a workbook so you can learn how to and practice relational connections. It's not for you to take the workbook and go home and say therapy is done. No, you have to take the workbook. You have to read the book. You have to do the exercises. You have to go back to therapy. You have to do role playing. You have to do modeling. You have to do all of these things so that when you relate to normal people and well, I don't want to say normal people, but when you're having regular connections, because it doesn't even have to be romantic connections, you've role played enough in a way to be able to maintain a relationship, whether it be friendship, familial, acquaintance or romantic. So you've role played enough so you know what to say and how to act in certain scenarios so that you don't go into the extremes. Because people are going to have a life and people are not going to be like the little babies latching onto your leg all the time. So you have to be able to learn how to deal with people having a life and feeling that and being able to understand that when people have a life, that doesn't mean that they don't care about you. That doesn't mean that you're invisible. That doesn't mean they ghosted you. And that's why you need to go to therapy and practice one-on-one, like role play and model how these things need to go, because your brain is going to have you do something completely different if you haven't gotten into a practice of figuring out how to relate to people, because you normally do not relate properly and healthfully.
No, you know, I don't want to empathize with someone that has borderline, but I do want to empathize because they don't know any better. And I feel like it can be lonely based on the symptoms they're telling me. They don't know how to connect
It
with
is
others.
very lonely. It is very lonely, and I also do empathize, which is another thing. Let me see. Oh yeah, we're getting close to the end of this segment, but we will come back for another one, so stay tuned. Um, it is definitely very lonely, and what I told my sister after I figured it out, I literally texted my sister that same afternoon, like, yo, I figured it out. I'm out of here. Da da da. Like, if he would have told me what he had from day one, the relationship would have gone completely different because I would know how to handle that. We would have gone to therapy probably on a third date. Because again, y'all all know that I'm like intentionally dating, right? And he knew that. So after we broke up and everything, he would send me text messages about what our family could have looked like if I would have stuck it out. All those types of things, right? So what I'm saying is, like, because I'm dating intentionally and I thought in the beginning he had some qualities, he still has those qualities, he just needs to go to therapy. But like I would have been able to like manage that, and like we would be managing it together instead of hiding it from me, making me spiral and like have an anxiety attack. I had multiple anxiety attacks in this relationship, which is another reason why I do not recommend you staying in something when you both spiral. Like it no, that's not a healthy relationship. Like you're supposed to be feeding into each other so you can be the best version of yourselves. You're both not supposed to be spiraling at different times during the relationship. Um, so yeah. And you're just shaking your head like, oh my goodness, what did this girl get into? But that's why I tell y'all,
I'm thinking about how many, I don't want to say women or people that are undiagnosed. That's all.
yes. So as we close our segment, is there any like one key thing that you want people to know about borderline, or what that you want people to take from what we were talking today?
Well, one key thing I want people to remember is the extreme moods, the spiraling, the up and down, and the unable to like maintain healthy relationship and connect with others.
Yes.
Those are the
Yes.
key aspects of borderline.
Yeah. And like if he says, "Yo, I've been in a lot of relationships and it's been this way," and it's been hot and cold and short and all, red flag, red flag. Um, for me, it's when they get into the self-injurious behavior or self-deprecating behavior, know that it is not your fault. Like I said it before, but I'm saying it again because it's at the end of the segment, and I want y'all to get that in your head. It is not your fault. You are not causing this person to do that behavior or to think about those behaviors. You are not causing that. And their low self-esteem is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of their brain playing tricks on them. So I want you guys to not feel guilty. And like I said, this is a slow burn, and once you realize it, you can easily get out. The block is your friend. Okay? Block them on Instagram, block them on your phone if you have to, remove all their pictures if you have to,
Hmm.
so
And
that
these
you
people
can
will
you can
reappear.
successfully move on. Huh?
I said, and these people will reappear.
They will reappear. Like he reappeared this morning, y'all. He reappeared this morning. Did I engage? No. But okay. So I want to thank y'all for listening to this segment of Work Well Wednesdays. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will be back next week.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course.
Thank you for listening to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Check us out on Instagram at La Vida Dulce Pod and at LA Sugar F on Twitter, and join the Sweet Teas crew on our Patreon to get behind the scenes access, exclusive first looks, and customized Azucar Welcome to the Sugar Factory merch. Check out our website, sweetlifewithazucar.libsyn.com, and don't forget to DM us at La Vida Dulce Pod for your questions for the Work Well Wednesday segment. See you next week with Welcome to the Sugar Factory and the next installment of Sugary Scandal and Entanglements.